I now have a pretty solid compile script to put together, and this is going to take my raw contract code and spit out both an ABI and the bytecode for the contract, and then deploy it to the network. And I'm going to head over to my next diagram. Pull this one out. All right. So in this video, I have the compilation put together. I can now think of deployment and testing. In this video, I'm going to start working on testing the aspects of the project. Remember, these contracts, they can work with a lot of money, and so I need to make sure that it works as designed. That's the entire goal of testing a contract. So how am I going to test this? I take my contract, put it in the compiler, and we get an ABI and bytecode as the output. So at what point in time are we testing this code? Where are we testing it? Do we test the Solidity code? Do we test the ABI? Do we test the bytecode? In reality, I'm going to write some very functional tests, meaning I'm going to write tests that call some different functions inside my contract. So they're going to be a very effective test. So let me pull up this other diagram I have. And I'll resize this for better viewing. All right. Okay, so at the very top, I have my Solidity compiler, which will compile down to the bytecode and ABI. I'm going to take this bytecode and I'm going to deploy it to a local test network in Ethereum. This local test network is going to be running on our own personal laptop or desktop. We're going to generate a new local network solely for the purpose of deploying and testing my contract. This is something I have already been doing using Remix. So the only difference here is this is a custom script instead of using Remix. So the local network will be created by a library named Ganache. This is labeled as Ganache/TestRPC. So just a quick history lesson. This library, this local test network, used to be called TestRPC, but it has been renamed to Ganache or Ganache CLI. You're going to still see a lot of documentation that says TestRPC. So whenever you see TestRPC, that's the old name. So I'm going to take the bytecode from my contract and deploy it to this local test network. Then on the other side, I'm going to take the JavaScript interface or ABI and feed it into Web3. Web3 is a library that I'm going to use to get programmatic access to a deployed contract on the blockchain. So Web3 is a portal as to what's going on inside the local test network. I'm going to be using Web3 throughout these videos. So this is it. This is it as far as the high-level architecture is concerned. And in the next video, I'm going to start the installation and setup of Web3 and Ganache.